Hello and welcome to Infogol's football betting podcast. We're into the fifth episode of this podcast series. Game week 5 of the Premier League, and after a week and a half break in which they managed to squeeze 3 international matches into just a week and a half. We've got some proper football to look forward to, and myself and Stephen, hello Stephen, we've been talking about the international break and England's failings, obviously. What are your thoughts on what's happening there?
Good afternoon. Yeah, it was a bit bleak, wasn't it? I know the script past Belgium, but I think that game against Denmark the other night, we've just been discussing before in the production meeting, that things probably do need to change, but I doubt that's going to happen with Southgate. But it'll be interesting to see if he carries on playing that same negative football, because it's not going to get the best results, is it, at the World Cup of the Euros? So.
No, you wouldn't have thought so. Thankfully, though, Liam, we have got a really entertaining weekend of Premier League football in particular to look forward to. What's your pick of the games? I know the headline is probably the Merseyside Derby, but what are you looking forward to the most this week?
There's a few, actually. Obviously, the Merseyside Derby, but the Crystal Palace Brighton's pretty interesting.
It's a bit left wing, that one.
They sort of call it a derby, but it's just it'd be good to see what the crossroads that they're on and what sort of match we get out of that. And I'm looking forward to Leeds Wolves on Monday. I mean, Leeds are always entertaining, so I think that'll be a good game as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that rivalry is the only one that's named after a motorway, which is quite interesting. But you're right, completely different styles of play. Palace and Brighton seem to be going in completely different directions, and it does seem as though we've got at least one good Premier League match to look forward to every day. It'll be interesting to see whether the really ridiculous goal count continues. If you want to read more about that, visit infogol.net. Mark Taylor, one of the guys who helped build the Infogol model and regularly contributes to Infogol.net, he wrote a really interesting article looking at why there's been so many goals in the Premier League so far this season, and would it continue post-international break. So definitely go and check that out. Now on to the betting stuff, the more serious stuff. If you're brand new to this show, you'll not know the system that we take, which is obviously section 1, which is a back or a nap of the week. Second section is looking at a European nap. And the third section, we look at a lay of the week using the Betfair Exchange. So we'll start off with our best bet in the UK, our nap in the UK for the weekend. And I'll start with you, Liam. Where are you going this week for your nap?
I'm going to stay very close to home. I'm back in Middlesbrough to win. I know you say never back your own team, but
let you down twice.
Yeah. I mean, I see the price it's 2.3 at the moment on the Betfair Exchange. I know we face Reading, and I know they're top of the league at the moment, or joint top with Bristol City. I just don't think they've been as convincing as, well, I think they've been overperforming really. They've scored 7 goals from 3.3 XG. They have been solid in defence, but still, they've only conceded 1 goal from 3 XG, so there's sort of some way to catch up on that. And they are missing John Swift and Lucas João. I know Lucas João has been on pretty good form to start the season. John Swift's probably their best player last season, according to our ratings anyway, and I think he's going to be a massive miss. When it comes to Middlesbrough, I mean, we got our first, we got our first win of 2020 at home last week. It was a long time, and we pretty much dominated that game against Barnsley. The XG's pretty close, but the vast majority of Barnsley's XG was late on, when we already had a 2-0 lead. One was penalty and another chance in the 86th minute. So that was just before the scored penalty. So I think it's pretty promising from our point. I mean, we've got a young squad, played pretty well.
Young manager as well, I've heard.
Big Neil Warnock fan, isn't he, Liam?
Yeah, he's back on the sidelines. So, I mean, it was pretty tight against Bournemouth and Watford. I fully expect them to be in the top 3 or 4 this season. So there's promising signs for us, really. I just think that getting that monkey off our back for our home form as well in our last game is going to be massive. And I just think at 2.3, bit too big. Like I say, Reading haven't impressed me that much.
I was a little bit sceptical when you told me that you were going to be back in Middlesbrough before the show, just purely because from the outside looking in, there isn't too much to shout about. But I understand your points about Reading and the fact that they have overperformed quite drastically. And, you know, a little stat for you, no team in the Championship has won their opening 5 matches for around 10, 15 years. So it's not something that happens very often. Obviously, Reading, and you mentioned Bristol City there that have the opportunity to do so. But I hope that you don't get disappointed twice by Middlesbrough losing and you losing a bet on Middlesbrough this weekend. But I do think it's yeah, I do it as well, Sheffield Wednesday fan, unfortunately. That brings me on to my bet. It pains me to say it, but I will be back in Sheffield United against Fulham this weekend. As I said, I'm a Sheffield Wednesday fan, so it's not easy for me to talk about a Sheffield United win. I think that what they're doing there is fantastic under Chris Wilder. Obviously not had the start to the season that they would have hoped for, losing the first 4 matches, but the performances have all been pretty positive, I think. And, barring an opening 6-minute salvo from Wolves, that game was pretty even. Against Aston Villa, they played with 10 men for 80 minutes. And conceded no big chances and an XG total of around 1. So it was a decent defensive performance. And then following that up with a game against Leeds in which they deserved to win according to expected goals, or at the very least deserved to get a point from. And obviously that dull game at the Emirates before the break, which must have just a combined 12 shots and 0.7 expected goals. Probably a game in which, again, a draw would have been a fairer reflection of the chances created. So it's not been all bad. It's not been as bad as the results and the actual league position would suggest. They sit 13th in our XG table at this early stage. And they're playing Fulham, who seem to be one of the best teams to be playing right now. They're losing every week, similarly to Sheffield United, but doing so in a much worse manner. Interestingly, I was writing about this, the schedules that both these teams have faced have been identical so far in terms of teams faced. They've both played Villa, Wolves, Leeds and Arsenal so far, and the processes well, let's just say Fulham's is much worse against those teams than what Sheffield United put up. Fulham have conceded an average of 1.8 expected goals against per game compared to 1.3 expected goals against per game of Sheffield United. They both struggled in attack, but that's understandable given the way that they both play. I just think Sheffield United are the better team. I think they're the better organised team. The home form last season in particular was excellent. And the last home game against Leeds, I thought they were really good for 80 minutes of the game. So I think the price that you're getting around Sheffield United is a little bit too big at around 2.2. I think if they'd have won one of their matches so far this season, you would probably see this price maybe even money or maybe even odds on, because Fulham have been that bad. So I do think that there's a huge amount of value in backing Sheffield United, as much as it pains me to say it as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Stephen, where are you going for your UK nap this week?
First of all, I would say I'm very impressed there, lad. You've made some convincing cases, so the pressure's on for this one. No, I'm going to the Championship, and I'm going for both teams to score in Blackburn versus Nottingham Forest, just at evens at 2.0. Now, Blackburn have been very impressive this season. The Championship's top of the XG table, and they've created 8.6 XG. They've scored 5 against Wickham, 4 against Derby, and they've got the league's top goal scorer in Adam Armstrong. He's absolutely flying. He scored 5 goals himself from 3.65 XG, so pretty impressive stuff from the Blackburn. And they're at home, obviously, Ewood Park, where they've performed well. And Forest, bit of contrasting fortunes. We all know the start they've had, it's been pretty terrible. They parted with the manager, they've sacked him, they brought Chris Hughton in. I think that's a very good appointment, but he does have a lot of work to do, particularly in defence. They've conceded 8 non-pen big chances this season, which is the joint worst in the league. So yeah, he's got his hands full there. But what's quite interesting is that they have been quite good going forward, although they've not scored many goals. They've created 6 non-pen big chances, which is the 3rd joint best in the league. And interestingly, Lewis Graben, he's racked up over 2.6 XG, and he's yet to score. He scored 20 goals last season, so that's quite amazing. And I don't think that run's going to continue. New manager in, put an arm around him, and he's definitely capable of finding the back of the net. So yeah, I think you've got 2 good attacking sides here, and I think both teams to score is a very good show.
I like the sound of that a lot, actually. Good point made there about Forest underscoring, creating the chances, not taking them. They've got the firepower. Lewis Graben's there. They've also got Lyle Taylor, who scored quite a few goals for Charlton last season. So, yeah, that looks like a potentially quite an entertaining game at Ewood Park. And, yeah, that looks a good price as well at around even money. So that racks up our first section. A reminder of our bets. So I'm backing Sheffield United to win at 2.2. Liam?
Middlesbrough at 2.3.
Stephen?
Yeah, and I'm going for both teams to score. Blackburn versus Nottingham Forest at 2.0, even money.
Perfect. And a reminder that all of the stuff that we talk about here is available to view at the touch of your fingertips, touch of a button on iPhone or any Android app. Download the free Infogol app. It is available. Everything that we've discussed, the percentages, the best bets, the analyst verdicts are all available there, including you can also view the in-play stuff, so in-play shot maps, halftime team talks, etc. And we now have fairness ratings on there as well, which basically assesses how fair a result has been compared to the expected goals in the game. So all of these features now available on the free downloadable app. Well, we can't physically travel around Europe at this current moment in time. We can mentally go there and pick out a few of our favourite bets from across the continent. Stephen, where are you going on your little travel?
I do love a good holiday in Spain, so I'm going to La Liga, Getafe versus Barcelona. And Getafe have caught my eye the last few seasons. I know they've secured Europa League a couple of times. They just missed out last season. But they're quite a boring side to watch, and I know that might sound a bit silly. Yeah. But they do keep things tight. They're tight at the back and they're tight going forward. And when they do win games, they often win it by fine margins. They've averaged 0.77 XG this season, so that just shows that they're not very good going forward. It's the third worst attacking side in the Liga. And I know Barcelona were terrible in the Champions League. Their defence was awful. But I think both teams to score no in this game is a good shout. I know I didn't say that at the start, sorry, they're 2.30. So yeah, it's quite a decent price over evens. So yeah, Coleman's came in and they've looked better at the back, even though they've not really made many changes in personnel at the back. Looked pretty solid. Barcelona have conceded 1 goal in 3 games. It was Sevilla that scored, and I know Sevilla were probably the better side, but it's a promising performance, I thought. And Barca have the second best defence according to expected goals. So to round that up, I think Barcelona will win the game, and I think it will be by fine margins. So yeah, just to reiterate that, both teams to score no, 2.30.
Yeah, you're right. What you're saying about Getafe, just the way you said it made me laugh. Just straight out, yeah, they're boring. Yeah, you know, that's exactly right. They are the, the anti-Barca, if you like, in the way that they play, but very, very effective in the way that they manage things.
Very pragmatic.
Exactly, yeah. Liam, whereabouts are you going in Europe?
I'm going to France. It's probably not expected at the start of the season, but the marquee game for the weekend is Lille versus Lens. If you look at our XG table, we've got Lens as the best team in the league so far this season, and I was surprised at how easily they've done that, to be honest. I mean, they've got over 12 XG in the 6 games played, but what really stands out is the 2.4 that they've conceded. I mean, they've let in 6 goals from that, but 2.4 is that in 6 games is 0.4 per game, which is a bit ridiculous, really.
Incredible, that.
For a promoted team, I mean, it's mental. I don't think I've seen much like that. They travel to Lille, but Lille are a similar way. Like they're really defensive team, especially. I mean, it's not unheard of in Ligue 1. I mean, it's probably if we're talking about pragmatic teams, Ligue 1 is the most pragmatic league in Europe, I would say. And they're really good at home. I mean, the amount of times they won to 0 last season was ridiculous. They're really good stopping teams from creating chances at home. They've started the season in the same manner. I mean, I fully expect them to be tight at the back. So I fancy under 2.5 goals. I'm a bit surprised to see it as high as 8 to 11, like I say, especially in a Ligue 1 game. I'm just surprised at how important this game is at the start of the season, really, and I just think it'll be a tight affair. 2 really good defenses at 8 to 11. I think it's a really good bet.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, some really staggering numbers there involving Lens in particular. Just how good that they've been, and they've not had the easiest of schedules as well. I think they had a game against PSG in there as well. Obviously, a depleted PSG, but no, that sounds like a really solid bet. I'm going to be slightly different. We're going to go to Italy, so that covers off 3 of the major four major leagues other than the Premier League. We've got quite a few entertaining games actually in Italy this weekend. The Milan Derby is obviously taking place on Saturday. You've got Napoli versus Atalanta, but I'm going to go for Sampdoria versus Lazio, and particularly a Lazio win in that one. I think Sampdoria have been really poor so far this season in their games in Serie A. They've really struggled. Obviously started with Juventus, which isn't ideal, but comfortably got beaten before blowing a 2-0 lead against Benevento, newly promoted Benevento in the following match. A win against Fiorentina last time out was slightly fortunate based on expected goals. He conceded 2.19 expected goals in that game. So they're defensively vulnerable. They haven't yet started clicking. And they're playing a Lazio team that I think have been slightly written off at this stage of the season. They've won once, drawn one and lost one so far. But the games in which they haven't won came against Atalanta, a team that Infogol thinks are probably one of, if not the best team in Italy, and Inter Milan, who are, I think, second favourites for the Serie A title. So, it's not exactly, they're not bad results, really. I think the 4-1 defeat to Atalanta in particular was, it looks like a hammering. The XG totals reflect that it was actually a much closer game. Lazio actually won the XG battle in that one. So unfortunate to lose so heavily. And then against Inter Milan, they did win the XG battle. So I don't think that Lazio are as bad as or have dropped off as much as people might suggest. If you remember back to last season, they were really close to Juventus right up until the break, and it was only post-break that the wheels started falling off, if you like, and the players, the small squad, they got a little bit found out, but pre-break they ranked as the second best team on expected goals, behind only Atalanta. So if they can get anywhere near that form, they'll be absolutely fine this season again, and we'll have a real strong tilt for a top 4 spot. The price to me was just stood out. Usually in Italy, you've got 7 teams that are better than the rest. I'm not going to name them all. You can sort of guess who they are. Lazio are included in that. And usually whenever they play away at a team that's lesser than them, they usually go off for odds on at the very least. So to see Lazio at around 2.2 to get the win at Sampdoria, a team that lost the last home game against a newly promoted team, Benevento, looks particularly big to me. And I just wonder if maybe the fact that there's Champions League football coming up and Lazio might have their attentions on that could maybe have an effect on this price. But I'm quite confident that Lazio will be able to go there and get the job done. They've got the process and the players to do so. So Lazio to win for me at 2.2. Something else that just caught my eye in France as well was Lyon. I think they're playing late on the Sunday. They're 2.3 for the win. Infogol models flagging them as great value. Lyon, they're another team that fall into the pragmatic category. They're playing it at Strasbourg, and I think they've won one league game this season, but their underlying process has been sensational. This is second in the XG table. So their performances, the results haven't been reflecting the performances, and the Infogol model's flagging a huge value bet in backing Lyon to win. So I just thought I'd mention that while it was on top of my head. So yeah, that wraps up the European section. I'm going for a Lazio win at 2.2. Liam?
Lyon's under 2.5 goals at 8 to 11.
Stephen, you're going for?
Both teams to score. No. Gaddafi Barcelona 2.3.
Perfect. All of this that we're quoting, the prices that we're quoting are from the Betfair Exchange. It's where you can back against other punters as opposed to backing against a bookmaker. You get better prices that way, and obviously it allows you to lay bets, which is something that we'll come on to in a second, as well as back bets. If you're new to the exchange, you can get a free £20 bet. You sign up, deposit £20, you get a free £20 bet to have a play around on the exchange. Like I said, you get better odds than your normal high street bookmaker, and you have the opportunity to lay as well. So it is a really fantastic tool that should be utilised. Get there, sign up if you haven't already. Right, into the final section now where we pick our best lay bets of the week. I'll start off. I'm going to go with the Merseyside Derby. I'm going to take on Liverpool, the champions Liverpool, obviously coming off the back of what was a mauling really at the hands of Aston Villa, losing 7-2, lost the XG battle quite comfortably in that game. They conceded 6 big chances, which over the last few years has only been done twice. Both teams to create 6 chances in a match was Manchester City against Watford and Brighton. So just sort of shows you how poor that defensive performance was by Liverpool. The risk-reward strategy has been talked about a lot. Obviously, Roy Keane and Jurgen Klopp butting heads, which was quite entertaining on Monday Night Football. I think Roy Keane was very, very smug after that Villa game. I think the way that Liverpool are playing is correct. I think that the playing the high line allows them to make the pitch smaller and allows them to play a more effective and efficient press. But if someone isn't doing the press properly, they are going to get caught out over the top and really just present the opposition with big chances. And that's something that Everton will most definitely be looking at targeting this match. Obviously, they've got one of the hottest strikers on the continent, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's scored 6 times through I think 4.1 expected goals so far this season. None of them have been penalties as well, which is quite impressive. They've got more than capable of causing some serious problems. They've got the tools now. They've got James Rodriguez, who can cut inside on his left foot and play some really comfortable, some really lovely through balls to the likes of Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. Allen anchoring and Doucouré playing as a box-to-box midfielder provides them with some stability. And they've been excellent so far. They sit top of our XG table, do Everton, through 4 matches, so they deservedly sit top of the Premier League. And their underlying process has been excellent too, with an improved defence. The only issue I have with Everton is the goalkeeper. I think everyone who watches Everton will have an issue with the goalkeeper, Pickford. Based on XG2, which takes into account the shots on target faced and the power, the dip, the swerve, etc. on the shot. He was one of the worst goalkeepers in the league last season. I think he was 5th worst across all Premier League goalkeepers to have faced 20 plus shots on target. This season, he ranks 2nd worst through 4 matches. I think only Willy Caballero ranks worse. So that's the only major cause for concern at Everton. Is the goalkeeper. But I do like their chances of scoring a couple of times against this Liverpool team that do look defensively vulnerable. Another one as well, and the goalkeeper, Adrian, will be between the sticks for Liverpool, who is obviously a massive downgrade on Alisson. That's an issue as well for Liverpool, a massive issue. There are a couple of positives for them. Thiago will be back fit. He'll be a massive plus. Likes of Salah and Mane both started the season incredibly well, scoring a hatful of goals, getting on the end of good chances. But the issue I have with Liverpool is that high line. I think that the press, whatever's happening at the minute, the press just isn't working very well. Teams maybe have looked at some tape and noticed some niche things that could be done to sort of exploit that. And Aston Villa certainly did that. And looking at the XG breakdown, Liverpool conceded 1.76 expected goals through one-on-one situations this season, and last season and across the entirety of last season it was just at 2.35 XG from one-on-one situations. That to me shows that they're getting caught out much more this time around. And Everton, like I said, have the tools to do just that. And in Calvert-Lewin, all he needs is one chance to score a goal. As Ancelotti said, he wants him to take just one touch when he's in front of goal, and playing through a one-on-one, there's a good chance of him taking just one touch. So Liverpool, I think they're a little bit too short. 1.91 they are to back on the exchange. The Infogol model thinks it should be odds against at around 2.2. So I'm more than happy to lay Liverpool at odds on around 1.92. It sounds strange, really, laying Liverpool, the champions, at that sort of price. I think they went off, Goodison Park, they went off around 1.6 last season. So to see them at 1.9 without any context would be an absolute back bet. But given what we've seen so far, I'm more than happy to oppose the champions and lay Liverpool. So yeah, I know, Stephen, you're going to be laying another big team in the Premier League. Tell us just who that is.
Yeah, we're being quite brave, aren't we? I think this weekend.
Yeah, brave is the word. Yeah.
Brave or stupid. Yeah, very true. We'll soon find out, won't we? We'll have a laugh about that next week. Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to lay in Manchester City at 1.47. Now, I've not been too impressed with City this season. They've got 4 points from 3 games. I know towards the back end of last season, the season was kind of written off, wasn't it? Before the new year had even swung around. And we all knew Liverpool were going to clinch the title. But they've averaged 1.66 XG goals for per game this season. And that's 1 XG less than last season's second average. And while I think everyone's been focusing on the defensive frailty, they've not been themselves going forward. They failed to create a big chance against Leeds. And I thought that was very unusual. And although that was a great game for the neutral, because it was a fantastic game, it was a bit worrying, I thought. And interestingly, they've created 3 non-pen big chances so far from 3 games. Last season, after 3 games, they'd created 10 non-big chances. So I just think that shows that they are struggling a bit going forward. And I think you can put that down to a few things. They are obviously without Aguero for injury. Gabriel Jesus has actually been ruled out of this game, so that's another negative. And the sweating on the fitness of Kevin De Bruyne. So that's another issue. But more importantly, I think it's really interesting, the duel between Guardiola and Arteta, the apprentice and the master, as he puts it. But I know City won 3-0 in this reverse fixture they had last season. And then in the FA Cup semi-final, Arsenal did it on them and won 2-0. And that game was just a counter-attacking masterclass from Arsenal. And I'm kind of landing on the point you were making before about Liverpool getting exploited. And Arsenal exploited Liverpool in the game. Obviously, I know they got beat 3-1, but I think they saw the weakness with Liverpool's Roman fullbacks, and they were counter-attacking quite well. And I think that's the blueprint they can use in this game. So yeah, I'm going to lay City. I think it's interesting that Aubameyang's only scored 1 goal this season. And obviously, that came against Fulham. He scored 22 last season from 16 XG. I was laughing with Jake before the production. He's only averaged 0.08 XG per average match, which is not figures you'd expect to see from him. But he is playing on the wing, so whether Arteta puts him up front at the expense of Lacazette remains to be seen. But I think Arsenal have got enough to get a result here. So yeah, laying Manchester City at 1.47.
It's tough to argue with that. I think everything you've said is pretty accurate. Manchester City haven't been at the free-flowing best this season. Arsenal, while they haven't been exactly brilliant and eye-catching, they have been very effective and efficient in the way that they're playing. Concerning about the Aubameyang numbers, that's madness, isn't it, to think that he's averaging 0.08 expected goals per average match. That is not what you would expect to see from him. Nonetheless, yeah, I do like the idea of opposing Manchester City. So, Liam, we've opposed the top 2 from the Premier League last season. Please tell me you're being as brave.
Well, just on Arsenal there, I've written something a couple of weeks ago about the fact they've only taken like 30 shots in the 4 league games, which is ridiculous, really. I mean, thankfully for them, 23% of those shots have been big chances. I'd say, unfortunately for them, none of them really felt Aubameyang. He's only had six shots this season, so I can see where the problems are with that. But like I say, they might turn it around against Man City like they have last season in the FA Cup. But for Mali, I'm going to Spain. Probably not as brave as you two, but I'm going against that odds against team Bilbao at 2.16 are available to lay. They're playing Levante at home. The Bilbao manager, Gaetano, is under ridiculous amount of pressure at the minute. I mean, they've played 4 games. In them 4 games, they haven't created more than 0.7 XG in any of them. It's just, he's on the edge of sacking, really. I mean, he really needs a win in this game. I don't think they'll get it, to be honest. There are some positives to their game. They have kept their opposition below 1 XG in each one of their games. So to say that they're not the most exciting watch would be a understatement, to be honest.
Use Stephen's word, boring.
Yeah. Yeah, if you think Getafe are boring, then I'd suggest you want to see what Bilbao are doing this weekend. But I mean, they've created 1 big chance in the 4 games. It's pretty dire at the moment. Levante, like their opposition, Levante, they're a real threat going forward at the start of the season against Valencia and Osasuna, creating loads of chances. I mean, the captain Morales, really good on the counter-attack. We've got quality with Enes Bardi and Campagna. Roger up front, who consistently is towards the top of our XG charts, even though he is at Levante. I mean, the last 2 games of being against Sevilla and Barcelona, I don't think they've disgraced themselves at all in the defeats. Sevilla and Real Madrid, sorry, not Barcelona. So coming into this game, I just think they'll find it a bit easier. They've got the quality up front to nick a goal, even though Bilbao's defence has been good. And if they do go 1 down or it is 0-0, you just can't see Bilbao challenging them with the attacking force that they've got at the minute, or the strategy, tactics, whatever's going on with Gaetano. Either it's got to change in this match. I don't think it will, because it's been that way for a while. I just think that 2.16 it's a really good price for people to lay. I mean, all the stats are there.
Sounds like Bilbao can give Getafe a run for the money this season. Yeah, I think everything you've said there is very fair and correct, and it does make you want to lay Bilbao. So, really good case made. The numbers that you quoted are absolutely phenomenal, really. The fact that Bilbao in 4 matches have created just 2.3 expected goals and conceded 2.5 expected goals suggests that whatever they do in the matches, it just seems to be maybe the midfielders kicking it between themselves for 90 minutes, lack of goal mouth action. But Yeah. So Liam, you're laying Bilbao. I'm laying Liverpool, and Stephen is laying Manchester City. 2 odds on, 1 odds against. A reminder that a lay bet, if you put £10 down on a lay bet, if it wins, you get £10 back. If it loses, then you get whatever percentage. So if my bet is at 1.92, I'm laying Liverpool. If Liverpool win, then I owe £9.20 as opposed to losing £10. So it's rather than a full stake loss, it does limit your losses if you're laying an odds on shot. Liam, if you lose, you're going to lose £11.70. As you say, it was 2.17 the price. So the slight risks of backing odds against, laying odds against, sorry. But nonetheless, I think that the Bilbao shout is very fair given how poor they've been so far. So that rounds off the Infogol Betting podcast. A reminder that everything that we discuss is available on the free downloadable Infogol app and infogol.net. You can read all of our match previews with more in-depth analysis for across the weekend's action. And a reminder that there's Champions League action taking place as well next week. That gets back underway on Tuesday and Wednesday with Europa League Thursday. There is a Champions League group stage preview available to view with best bets from each group. And as of Monday, we will have match previews for all of the Champions League matches. And everything else, analyst verdict wise, is available free to download on the app.